Hello and welcome to another episode of That's Dota. We're going to be casting another game from the team matchmaking here, and we're going to be seeing iNCANATUS up against Tactical Monkeys, or INCA versus TMK. I'm going to be Gus, and I'm going to be joined today here by Mark. Mark, we see another Weaver coming out. If anyone is following our cast at the moment, you would have seen the last Weaver game we saw in Fate Gaming versus Poland Strong, is that we saw a very creative and very aggressive Weaver coming out, so I would like to see something like that coming out again in this game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he was able to be aggressive in the last one because he was in a dual lane against a dual lane. So he had the backup, and he was against kind of a lane that couldn't really punish him for being aggressive. Usually we kind of see Weaver put in the off lane, so he doesn't really get the chance to be to kind of start balling that quickly. But some interesting pickups here. It's good to see the Bristleback. I feel that Bristleback is a fairly strong hero, and one that I imagine is going to get picked up quite a bit more often. We've seen him a few times. I think Fnatic played him about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, a really strong hero. If he can keep surviving in a fight, he gets to do some ridiculous damage.
10 seconds.
He's one of those heroes that he's really undervalued, and the fact is that he's just so goddamn hard to kill.
Yeah, he's kind of like a better Spectre. I mean, because he's naturally tanky. I mean, Spectre tends to have to build tanky to stay alive in fights, and also he'll do so much damage. I mean, if Spectre builds towards damage items, then she's going to obviously do more damage, but she's not going to be as tanky. But Bristleback finds a nice medium. Obviously, he's not going to carry the game nearly as hard as Spectre, but he kind of fulfills that same purpose where he just survives in a fight, and then the longer he survives in a fight, the more damaging he becomes, and then you have to actually pay attention to him. But because he's so hard to kill, it's extremely difficult to pay attention to him. So yeah, I think he's a really strong hero. And then we see a Slardar as well, not picked up too often. We don't see him that much. But then the Lich, Nightstalker, and Rubik are some fairly common picks.
Nightstalker's it's interesting. I don't think we've actually cast a Nightstalker game, so more than likely we should be seeing him in mid. Taking a look kind of at the lineup just at the moment with Radiant, is they do have the possibility of going for a tri-lane there with the Slardar, Rubik, and the Lich, and they could possibly consider an off-lane hero. It's a nice combination. It doesn't, let's say, work in the way of a standard tri-lane, but the fact is that they have the TK lift into the Slardar slam, or even a Lich slow slam kind of thing. That
Slardar could also be put in the off-lane though as well.
Exactly. Just to kind of take up the farms. Storm Spirit coming up as the last pick, which is another, he's such a fun hero just to see actually zipping around the map. Storm Spirit, Night Stalker, not really sure how that kind of matches up. I kind of think is that the Storm Spirit has a slight edge just in the fact is that he has the range advantage, but the fact is that Night Stalker does have that silence, he does have that slow. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage early on to that Night Stalker before the Night Stalker gets his ball lightning.
10 seconds to go.
Yeah, I mean, the Storm Spirit is a better mid in terms of kind of last hitting and pushing waves and stuff, but the problem with Storm Spirit is he's so easy to gank before level 6, and Night Stalker is quite good at ganking before level 6. I mean, Nighttime now drops it 4 minutes, and no one's going to be level 6 at that stage, and he's going to have at least one level up in silence, and his void is going to hit like a truck. So if he could get some roaming, maybe from the Rubik or the Lich, before the Storm Spirit hits 6 at nighttime, then it should be a kill. So it'll be interesting to see if INCA actually go for that.
I'm really liking INCA's lineup at the moment. Like, they do have kind of free reign to what they do with this last pick. When we take a look at TMK at the moment, they do have great heroes for team fight potential in the form of the Disruptor, the Venomancer, as then as when you have that with the Bristleback for the sustained damage. It's a kind of a team that to me it looks like they're all about lasting in fights and then being the victors, versus you take a look at the other side, is they're all about just burst damage and getting it out quickly. Storm Spirit can lock down heroes, the Disruptor as well, he can catch heroes out with the kinetic field, but you take on the flip side as well, is that you have true stuns coming out in the form of the Slardar, the Rubik, slows coming out from the Night Stalker and the Lich, and depending on what they come out in their last hero, I really am favouring INCA at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think TMK have serious team fight potential. Okay, we're going to see a Doom, so I wonder, that'll probably be, I imagine it'll be a tri-lane. Now we have seen, it could be an aggressive tri-lane with Lich, Rubik, and Slardar, and then Doom in the safe carry. That could be an option. And nice document. One thing actually I think is good to point out is Night Stalker might actually find it tough to get solo ganks against this lineup. Bristleback is obviously really tanky. Storm Spirit has his Ball Lightning. He's going to be pretty impossible to gank once he gets that up. Weaver, again, Sakuchi, Time Lapse, very difficult. Disruptor has his Glimpse and his Kinetic Field, so difficult enough. So really, Venomancer is the only kind of sure thing. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get those pickoffs, because that's what they want, pickoffs, because they can't really fight as a team against this lineup. Also, the Doom is, I think, a really good pickup. He counters so many of these heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that Venomancer does will be countered by Doom. Weaver won't be able to escape. Storm Spirit won't be able to escape. I mean, if you throw Doom on pretty much anyone in this lineup, maybe not Bristleback, but anyone else really, and you're putting them out of the fight pretty much.
Definitely. Taking a look down just on Team INCA at the moment, on the Lich we're going to see Garreta, on the Rubik we're going to see Oscar X9. Going more than likely in this mid row is going to be Phantom. On the Slardar we see Shadower, and finally on the Doom we're going to see Walking.
And for TMK on the Dire. On the Venomancer we're going to see NATO. On the Bristleback, Akade. Disruptor we're going to have Frostmere _430. Storm Spirit mid, we're going to see Pegasus Z, and finally on the Weaver, we're going to see Dot Mad Sounds.
Yeah, some interesting team names. We did see the Smoke was coming out early from the Venomancer, so I don't know if they actually want to use this early game or they just want to have the option of having it. Kind of the way these lanes are going to go is going to be interesting. The Slardar is going down bot. The Lich, I don't know whether they're going to consider something crazy like a Lich solo off lane, just sacrificing creeps, getting up the levels that way, the Doom in the jungle, and then a dual lane bot. Kind of looks like that's what they're considering. When we take a look at the top, is that the safe lane is going to be the Bristleback. We do see that the two supports they're ready in mid. They want to kind of secure an early gank, and this is a good idea. So they can get that dust out. They can loop right around and catch this Night Stalker unaware.
Yeah, I think we are going to see an offlane Lich, who is perfectly fine in the offlane. The sacrifice means that he's going to be getting experience no matter how badly the lane's going for him, and it means it also pulls the lane towards him, and then also it means he gets his Chain Frost up extremely quickly.
Yeah, but it's going to be solo versus solo and a tri-lane versus tri-lane. Now the two supports are looking to wrap in here towards this Night Stalker, so they need to be very careful if they want to see if they can secure this kill. And they are going in. Haste to Venomancer does come in, does manage to throw out the Thunder Strike. He gets his Poison Sting off as well. Sakuchi is coming in as well, and they do take the first, but it does go the way of the mid on the Storm Spirit. Great play.
Yeah, really good pickoff. Interesting that I don't think the Storm Spirit maybe knew about it because he didn't skill Electric Vortex first, but I mean they didn't really need it when you put 4 people into a mid gank and you have heroes like Venomancer. You're probably not going to get away.
Yeah, exactly. Now Doom kind of was in here just hassling the lane up a bit, but he needs to just go back to his farming. And we're going to see that the tri-lane now is going to rotate bot, and this is a very aggressive tri-lane. There's so much sustained damage in the form of the Thunder Strike, the Sakuchi coming out, and then you have the just the wards coming out and the Poison Sting coming out from the Venomancer. This is a dive coming out from the Weaver onto the Rubik, but he just wants to put a little bit of harass, let them know that they're in this lane now.
Yeah, and it looks like the tri-lane from TMK is going to put the safe lane dual lane from INCA in a lot of trouble. I mean, this is the problem when you have a jungling hero. You weaken your lanes. I'm actually, to be honest, not that fond of a jungling Doom. I mean, if we watch him now, I mean, just watch him jungle. I mean, what's he really accomplishing?
It's incredibly slow. I've seen players get, I think they had level 6 in 5 minutes, something like that. But I think it was completely circumstantial in the fact that they managed to get a DD rune. And this Storm Spirit's very out of position. He might even take out this Doom here, but I think he's going to lose his life. Oh, he does. Oh, this great play. He's going to get away with that. Doom coming out just doing absolutely nothing, wasting his time, wasting his life more importantly, and just giving gold and experience to a hero who should not get gold and experience, because if he does, he's going to ball out of control.
Yeah, and also another factor to worry about is, I mean, you're weakening your lanes by going into the jungle, so you need to be out of that jungle as fast as possible so you can strengthen your lanes up once again. And if you die before even getting your Midas up, you're going to be in there even longer, which means the tri lane coming out from TMK is just going to be even more effective.
They seem to be switching these lanes up a bit, and the Storm Spirit is possibly going to lose his life here. One more right click.
Yeah, the Void's coming out. The Void's
there we go. There we go. They've switched up with this Doom up against the Bristleback. Now, I do like this, and the fact is that Doom is quite tanky, and so is Bristleback. But Bristleback is just far more that he can do. He can just constantly harass the melee heroes with his Quill Spray. I kind of feel that they didn't really think this lineup through. Had they put the Slardar on the offlane with the Doom in a tri-lane bot, it would have been far more efficient.
Yeah, I feel like the Doom pick kind of came out to counter the heroes that were being picked up against them without really much thought being given to where he's actually going to lane, because right now he's just kind of moving from mid to the jungle to top, and he's not really getting anything done, to be honest.
I kind of feel like they don't really know what they want to do with it.
Yeah, we're going to see another wrap around mid now. Venomancer and Disruptor.
This is Smoke, and this is a great use. Smoke is one of those underused items, and the Night Stalker, he's very far forward. They're going to come in here. He does manage to get at the static dispersion or whatever it's called, but he does manage to catch the kinetic field and the Thunder Strike, and he's going to lose his life there.
But that kinetic field is absolutely massive, because Knight just hit as they were ganking.
So he was just about away.
He was away. Even the Venom Scale hit, but he was still away. If that kinetic field didn't hit, yeah, he would have gone. But I mean, huge ganks on the Night Stalker. They've killed him twice now, and every time you can kill Night Stalker in the early game means it's going to lessen his impact in the first night. And Night Stalker is such a snowbally hero. He needs to have a good first two nights. Otherwise, he turns out to be nothing but a vision. A vision hero, to be honest.
And look at the levels. The Storm Spirit is now 2 levels ahead of this Night Stalker, which is huge. And it's the first night. This is when Night Stalker should be leaving the lane and getting ganks, but it's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, he can still get ganks. I mean, if he wanders down bot, it's a 4-on-3, and it's nighttime. I mean, he has been ganked twice, fair enough, but it's Night Stalker at nighttime. He's still extremely dangerous. But this Storm Spirit can afford to be fairly aggressive now. I mean, you can just see the amount of damage that right clicks are doing.
The Doom up top he's near to his Midas, but it is going to be very late. Versus this Bristleback has just been farming free pretty much since the start of the game. He's just going to go straight to that Vanguard.
We're going to see gank down bot.
Scucci did come out and does manage to miss the connected field, unfortunately. Oh, good play coming out from the Lich just to throw it. The Slardar does go down to the Disruptor, and they're possibly going to lose 3 heroes here to this. Yeah,
really
little bit too greedy. I think they got a little bit too ahead of themselves. They kind of feel as that, oh well, we've killed mid a couple of times. We've had a few kills on the board. Like, she can afford to do this. But you got to respect the Lich. You got to respect that Frost Blast and the Fade Bolt. It's a lot of damage, especially against the Weaver, especially who he has such low health early on in the game. It's when he gets up the Lincoln Spheres, he can be a lot more effective. Like, even just look at that, down to 1/3 of his health just with 2 skills.
Yeah, and he's got no regen as well, so he now has to back out.
Night Stalker now, he's sent his illusion down and left himself with the illusion spot. Has he realized this?
I imagine so.
He's waiting for the next rune? No, I don't even know what he was doing there. But it's kind of, this Storm Spirit now has his threads up, and he's going to be able to probably rush straight towards that Orchid. Even the Bloodstone probably would be more beneficial to him.
Yeah, it depends really what you want to go as Storm Spirit, whether you want to be fairly aggressive and pick up the Orchid, or whether you want to kind of farm for the late game, where maybe a Bloodstone and a Side of Ice would be better pickups.
The game is kind of settling down a bit more now. It's like the steady push is coming out from the way the Venomancer with these play boards. Great placement there as well, just putting it in the actual, and this is what I said was going to happen, is that we do see the TK comes out, the stun, the kinetic field does come out, but the only problem is, oh, that's the Lich coming out. It's going to RNG the Storm Spirit coming out at the worst possible time to actually just bounce that back again, and he's going to lose his life. And this is huge plays coming out by the way of the Radiant. They took a bad situation and managed to turn it and make it worth themselves. TP's coming in by the way of the Doom. The Night Stalker does run down as well. Unfortunate timing from that ball lightning to come in by the way of the Storm Spirit. He just managed to actually chain that chain Frost up even more. It's just going to walk home now just with 3 kills under his belt with no deaths.
Yeah, this, I mean, it did look like in the first 5 minutes this is going heavily in the favor of TMK, but this bot lane has managed to turn the game on its head all by themselves. I think huge misplays by the Storm Spirit. I mean, he balled in to the Chain Lightning, but he didn't ball out, which is absolutely crazy, and it's something that TMK have been fairly guilty of in this early game, that they're just kind of staying in fights when they shouldn't be, and they're losing more heroes than they should be in these fights.
Yeah. After that kind of the dust kind of settles on that little bit of a melee, we'll take a look at the goal graph. It was initially going heavily in the favour of TMK, but it spiked quite convincingly in the way of INCA. It's gone straight up to nearly 1,500 golds, and then experience-wise again, it is still in the favour of INCA. Now this is just because they had the split heroes. They had the jungler who's now solo. Who's gone solo, but now they're kind of moving around a little bit more. When he gets that Midas is up as well, it's going to increase the favour of the experience to them, but the goal is kind of is where that's at the moment. This Bristleback, though, at the same time, he is happily farming up top, and he's going to be just an absolute nuisance to deal with later on. He's diving down on this Doom, but all he's doing is just really harassing him at the moment.
Yeah, the Bristleback's an interesting one. He's kind of been the only hero in the whole game that's been unaffected by the early ganks and fights. So, you know, he's been kind of let to just kind of get his items up and farm. We're going to see a dive from Sword Spirit on the Night Stalker.
He doesn't actually get it.
Really good pick off, and terrible positioning from the Night Stalker. He was on less than half health, and you know, when you're up against the Storm Spirit,
especially in A, when the fact is that every second right click he does is going to slow you.
And bot, we're going to see Rubik go in with a nice Akuchi.
Stun comes in, and look at the damage coming out there.
Yeah, it's a lovely combo, and picking up the Sakuchi makes that combination just completely lethal.
Fade Bolt into Sakuchi with the bonus damage into Frost Blast, and then you also have the stun coming out. That's the TK lift for the stun for the Slider is actually just so efficient.
Yeah, there's just so much damage coming out, and really Sakuchi is just used as a gap closer, as an initiation. Oh, and then Night Stalker goes on the Storm Spirit. He doesn't have any levels in his silence, which is baffling to me.
It's I don't know whether he wants to get the early aggression on it. Now the level 6 is out on the Slider now, so he can get that amplified damage, which does give vision on that Weaver, which does make him so much easier to lock down now.
I mean, 1 level in silence gives you 3-second silence during day and a 5-second silence during night. When you're up against a hero, against a line of heroes that rely so much on their skills, not getting a silence is, in my opinion, absolute madness.
So it appears that the Storm Spirit is going to go for the Orchid. He has picked up his Quarterstaff first.
Dire's top tower.
Smart move, I think, is getting that up first, because it's going to make him a lot more relevant.
Yeah, it's a gamble. I mean, basically what you're saying is, I'm going to start ganking now once I get this item.
Oh, and a little bit of a misplay there. The Slider, I think, thought he was closer to the Venomancer than he actually was, and he missed his stun there on that. But in the same time, while this is all that's happening, is the hero who they don't want to farm is up farming top, and that's the Doom.
I feel he's kind of been forgotten about TMK. I mean, they ganked him really well, and he wasn't getting anything done. But then he's kind of went top, and they've kind of forgotten about him. And I mean, it was a great decision by INCA to put him up there, because he's got free farm since he's moved up.
And we has a Midas as well. So Weaver can't really do anything to take him down. If the Weaver does come in, he can Scoochie in, but the Doom will come out, the Scorched Earth, the Death level 1, and then there's also a Thunderclap as well. And he's leaving this lane to go mid to actually try and see if he can save up this. Oh, the Doom does come out. He should be able to pick up this Storm Spirit here. Should be just enough damage just to take him out. He doesn't have any mana for anything else, but the Doom should just finish him off.
Yeah,
great awareness there to actually get in to do that damage, and he can happily just take this farm mid now. He doesn't even actually necessarily need to go back up top. This lane composition that was heavily favouring the Dire, that they're kind of letting it get away from themselves at the moment, is they've lost some early kills to the Slardar Rubik combination, and this top lane is they don't even really seem to know what they actually want to do with it. It's either going to be Bristleback or it's Weaver. I kind of feel from the start they should have put the Weaver up here, who would have done a lot better against the Lich, and it would have been a little bit of a different game, but we'll kind of see how it pans out at the moment. But I do kind of favour now the Radiant at the moment, INCA.
Yeah, I agree about the lane switch. I think that's a good idea. Weaver needs a bit of farm and Bristleback.
The smoke wrap around. They're going to catch out this Weaver here straight away, or the Venomancer straight away. Just the kinetic field does actually catches out the heroes there. But the only problem is, and here comes the chain frost going back up, going to orangey off the actual creep. It's an additional bounce onto the Doom doesn't life to the Weaver up top, which is because the Storm Spirit came up as well. But the only problem is you took out one hero for 3 of yours. Not necessarily a good trade. Don't even think had the Storm Spirit come down, he wouldn't be able to do anything
Radiant's
here.
top tower is
That's
under
Slitherine
siege.
Crush by the Stardark cut out 3 heroes, including a Venomancer with a haste rune. So yeah, absolutely massive stun, and then the Lich ult on top of it made sure of the kills.
Radiant
And Lich ult is just, at this point of the game, probably for the next 15 minutes, it's such a scary spell, you need to watch out for it. But they are going to lose their top tower to this. Still, it's not an even trade.
I feel the Rubik, the Stardar, and the Lich are winning the game for INCA here at the moment. Nightstalker is very far behind, and it'll be something to worry about for INCA, that they may have a kind of a crutch in Nightstalker, that he probably won't be able to affect the game like he usually does. I mean, he's 3,346 in net worth, which puts him well below most of the other players in the game. And Nightstalker, as we said, is a hero that needs to get that early game early game kills, early game items, early game levels, and he's just not getting it.
And all the while this Doom is happening in farming, kind of taking a look at the levels at the moment. For INCA at the moment, it's the Lich is 9, Rubik 9, Nightstalker 8, Slardar 8, and the Doom is 11. You clashes on the flip side for the Dire team. It's the Venomancers 5, Bristleback 9, Disruptor 6, Storm Spirit 11, and Weaver is 8. The Weaver has been doing well to keep his levels up, but the only problem is he was in a tri lane. He should be miles ahead, but this Doom, who was killed earlier on in the game, has got his Midas up, is now happily free farming. They're not shutting him down, and he's going to become a real threat. You can have the Bristleback, who is incredibly tanky.
There's going to be an engagement started then by the bottom ward, really great kinetic field.
Great static storm coming out there as well. Just managed to catch the Lich here as well with the slows. Slithering Crush did actually stop the Bristleback there, but he's going to turn, he's going to snot up this Rubik, he's going to be able to take the set. But no way, can they glimpse him back possibly?
Glimpse.
Unfortunately not, but we do see
it.
Again, another strange decision not to take up the glimpse when it's such an amazing skill to set up those ganks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Thunderstrike, he's put 3 levels into it. I just don't think that Thunderstrike is under it's I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. Putting 3 if you're going to skip glimpse to put stuff into Thunderstrike.
It's a great skill early on because it is good damage and it had good synergy with the heroes they had in the form of the damage coming out from the Venomancer as well. But not having glimpse is just bananas. They possibly could have taken that Ruby there, just glimpsed him right back. But they are taking towers now, but the only problem is it's not necessarily the towers that are going to win the game. Nightstalker is looping around here, which I think he's gone a little bit out of position. He does manage to get the Void off, and he's probably going to take out... he's actually just going to TP out. Had he had a silence, he would have actually gotten him. Another Static Storm coming out there. Great play, and they're just going to TP out. Smart. Unfortunately, the silence finally does come out and does silence up that Venomancer, stops him there. Slithering Crush does come out, catches 2.
Back to my Mad Libs.
And this is the story of Dota for the ages, is that you need to learn when you've done enough. You need to learn when it's time to come home. They were away. The Storm Spirit was 1-1 against the Nightstalker, TP'd out, it was fine. Venomancer was on his way out, but he unfortunately did get stopped. But the Bristleback and the Disruptor, they just kind of faffed about the lane for a bit. They should have just left and walked out and they would have been fine. Plague Wards have been stolen by the Root, which just means they're going to be able to take this tower with great ease.
I think it goes even further back than that. I think they should have left as soon as they got the tower.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
But for some reason, they kept pushing, and they got caught well out of position.
Middle tower is under
the smoke coming in does actually catch 4 heroes, so possibly they might be able to see about getting the Storm Spirit. The only problem is unless you get the Doom off, he's just going to zip away. He does have his first Oblivion stat filled. He's on his way to getting his second.
The Doom is leading this though, so he needs
to
go
he does
right
get
now.
the Doom. Brilliant. And this, that's a very dead Storm Spirit.
I think poor reactions there from the Storm Spirit. The creeps caught out Doom, and he had at least a second to
definitely to zip away.
Ball out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, I do really feel that TMK, they're letting this slip through their fingers. They had a great start to the game, but the only problem is now the rolling death machine is kind of coming around. Is that they're going as 3s, 4s, and 5s. Doom's going to come up top. He's going to see if he can actually take out this Weaver. At this point, the Weaver, I don't think has enough damage to to actually kill this Doom down,
Dire's
the Doom
middle
could
tower
actually
is
happily
being
TP out,
attacked.
and there's nothing that the Weaver can do about it.
Dire has
Weaver is going to
fortified
getting up that
structures.
Lincoln Sphere, which would be great against the Dooms, because that's who you're only want to be targeting, either the Storm Spirit or the Weaver with the
Dire's
Doom.
middle tower is under
And at this point you
attack.
can see is that they're reduced to just farming up the Ancients, which isn't really that great, especially when there's 3 heroes split and they're possibly going to lose their mid tower as well at the same
Dire's middle tower is
time.
under siege.
Yeah, interesting decision not to defend this mid tower. I mean, once we saw that draft, we were saying how strong the team fight is for
Dire's
TMK.
middle tower
And
is
they have
under
all 5
attack.
heroes up.
It just continued to
and they
Dire's
decided to
middle
just give
tower
that
has
tower away.
fallen.
Definitely, like, and then at the same time, it's you're giving up a tower and you're also letting this Doom go back to what he wants to do, and that's farm. So first
Yeah,
big
and
item
then the
coming out
Doom
with this point booster is the Ags.
Yeah, I don't like this pick up from Doom. I think it's one of those kind of. I think it kind of reminds me of like the Aghanim's upgrade for Necrolite, where it looks cool, but in practice, really, you're never going to use it. I mean, like, once you've doomed someone, the idea of dooming someone is
Dire's top
you doom
tower
someone
is
and then
under
you take them
siege.
out of the fight, and then
Radiant's
you
bottom
have the
tower is
fight,
being
and
Dire's
then
top tower has
you
fallen.
obviously win the fight
On
because
full
you're taking
TP's
someone
mid
out.
here. Disruptor may get caught out here if he gets a good slithering crush.
Siege.
He has a glimpse. He uses the glimpse.
Just gives him back, and the Venomancer does. Oh, the Weaver does actually manage to get away as well. Oh, and a great
Radiant's
TP
bottom
out.
tower is under siege.
Weaver's TPing up top. Yeah, it's just reading at that the kind of the tooltip there. It's basically is that it doesn't tick down the timer if he's within 900.
Yeah.
Not really that great.
I
Yeah,
mean,
like you say, it sounds really cool, but it's never really going to be that relevant unless they have someone like, let's say, for example, the Bristleback late game. If they get a TK off him and a Doom, that's going to do a lot of damage. And then you have like a Slithering Crush or even the Slow coming out. It just means that it's a lot more sustained damage on big heroes, but it's, like you say, that's not really what it's for. Something like
No,
in an
Doom's
AC
not for the
possibly.
damage. Doom's not for the damage in the late game. It's for the silence and stopping them using anything. And I mean, there are going to be no situations really where you're just going to follow around the Doom target. I mean, either you doom them in the beginning of the fight and they leave because they can't do anything, or you're chasing someone and you doom them to get the kill. But if you're chasing someone anyway, you should be able to pick up the kill if you're close enough to, if you're close enough for your Aghanim's upgrade to be effective.
Yeah, it's a lot of invested gold in an item that's more a gimmick than anything else.
Yeah, it is. It's a gimmick. It's exactly what it is.
Damage.
But this Disruptor has been having a great game with his kinetic fields and with the actual the static storm. He's been doing a great job with that. He's been catching a lot of heroes out. Now, I kind of think is that with the Aghanim's upgrade for that, possibly might be worth it. Again, it's kind of gimmicky in the fact is it kind of turns it into an AoE Doom in essence, is that it silences, but it also prevents you from using any items.
Yeah, I think there are other options for a disruptor that are better. I think building stuff like Force Staff, maybe a side device in the end. I just don't think. I think when you have someone caught in Static Storm, that's good enough. You don't really need to spend 4,000 gold to make it a tiny bit better.
But no items, you wouldn't be able to use Dagon.
Well, as soon as they build the Dagon, then we can reassess the situation.
Okay, we'll wait for that moment. But the game is there was a lot of action there for the past 10 minutes. It's kind of settling down now. And this is,
Radiant's middle
I kind of
tower
think
is
on the
under
Dire
attack.
side, it's that they don't know what to do.
Radiant structures
And on the
have
Radiant
been
side, it's that they
fortified.
just want to wait for their opportunity to pounce.
Yeah. Could deny actually by the Doom,
Radiant's
but yeah, I
middle
mean the
tower
Doom
has
is.
been denied.
That was actually
further-
just,
further
sorry to
ahead.
cut across you there.
Dire's
That was
bottom
such a good
tower
deny
is
in the
under
fact is that
siege.
Rubik linked in and TK'd the catapult.
Yeah. But yeah, the one worrying thing I suppose is if you look at net worth, fair enough, the Doom is leading by quite a bit, but then the next 3 heroes after that are the Bristleback, Storm Spirit, and Weaver, and the Night Stalker, which is, I mean,
Jim's
he's
going to get in
probably
here. Is he going to be able to? No, he's managed to get away. Night Stalker
He's
is
a-
going to chase. Oh, strange decision from. Oh, good play.
he's a 3-roll Night Stalker, but I mean he's
Radiant's top
underfarmed,
tower is
underfed.
under siege.
And he's going to be fairly. I mean, he's going to build Aghanims, and that's going to be handy, because they seem to be kind of going around as a 5-man. So the vision from Aghanims would be great. But in terms of damage, he's not going to be able to put out much. So they're going to be very much reliant on this Slardar and this Doom to put out the damage when it comes late, which is kind of what they're looking towards, because they seem more intent on kind of passively farming than they do on kind of pushing towers.
Yeah. In this quick, just a little bit of downtime, we're going to take a look at the goal graph again. It still isn't heavily in the favour of INCA, and this is just due to the kills, to that Midas, and the fact is that I think they're farming a little bit more efficiently. The gold is starting to come down in the favour of the of TMK, but it's a slow descent. Again, it's a similar kind of thing with the experience. It's heavily in favour at the moment for INCA, but it is slowly coming back to be breaking even.
Yeah, I think the downward dip is coming from the fact that INCA have kind of stopped getting those massive kills down bot because the laning phase is over, and heroes like Storm Spirit, Bristleback and Weaver are out farming everyone except for the Doom.
Yeah.
So that they are bringing it back.
Is being attacked.
So yeah, I mean this
is two smoke initiations coming up here. They're going to meet in the middle and have an epic clash. So we'll see how this actually turns out. Nightstalker's very far ahead here, and he is going to get caught out. Oh, just catch him here. Just managed to throw out the Orchid as well. Kinetic field does come out, just stop him. Right click damage coming out with the Weaver, and the Bristleback does actually manage to take it. But Slithering Crush does come out with the Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit's going to lose his life here. Oh, the great BKB does actually manage to go back in to try and catch out this Lich, but Lich can easily just throw out the ult, and he does, but it does actually get instantly cancelled. He does walk through the Static Storm, does manage to keep his life. The Venomancer is going to try and see if he can actually chase down on him. Does get his ult off on the actual Rubik. Rubik is going to die to both the Thunder Strike and then finally the Weaver should be able to. Why are they not going for this Lich? They had him so close to death. The Bristleback is coming back in. He wants to do more damage. Doom does come out onto the Weaver. Doom is actually going to chase that Weaver now as the Scorcher. The Disruptor is going to lose his life to the Slider, but all the while as the Bristleback is actually chasing him here. Is there going to be enough damage coming out in the way of the Rubik, or the Bristleback? The Sprint is coming out by the way of the Slider. He should possibly be able to get away here, but the only problem is there's so much damage. So many stacks at the moment on this Bristleback, but the only problem is there's too many enemies here for him to actually deal with, so he just needs to back out of here. There's an Invis rune out there, he can scout that and catch it. Only problem is he has been amplified damage, so he is visible at the moment. And he does this, the Void comes out, does actually slow him, the Crippling Fear, but there is TPs coming in. They want to try and help their buddy here. We're going to see that the ball lightning is coming out. They're going to catch out the Doom. Can he Orchid him? He does actually Orchid him, so there's going to be a lot of damage coming out the way the Poison Sting coming out by the way the Venomancer is going to slow him, keep him there. Then Doom does go down. That's a lot of gold going the way of the Storm Spirit. Someone hero that they really did need to kill. The Nightstalker is going to bottle up this rune. He's going to walk away. So that was kind of, what was that? That was 4 heroes for 1?
No. The Rubik went down. The Nightstalker went down.
Is right. Kind of tit for tat, I suppose, on both sides there. We just saw though how effective that Bristleback is, even 24 minutes in the game. They just couldn't take him down. There was all the heroes were wailing on him. The stuns were coming out. I think there was at least 3 or 4 stuns came out on, but they just couldn't take him down.
Yeah, I mean that fight went heavily in the favour of INCA, especially because their Doom survived pretty much the whole fight, and then they got just too greedy. They chased the Bristleback way too far. Oh yeah. I think sometimes when you play Dota, you get far too obsessed about getting the kills off individual heroes, and really, I mean, they took everything they wanted there from that fight. They got the Weaver, the Doom stayed alive throughout the whole fight. They only lost supports and an underfed Nightstalker. I mean that should be enough for them, but they got greedy and then they lost the one hero that they didn't want to lose, which is their hard carry, their Doom. Which kind of evened the fight out, really. I mean, I think the fight still went to INCA, but losing the Doom at the end there hurt quite a lot. Yeah,
and especially having the gold going towards the Storm Spirit. Kind of taking a look at the net worth, it still is. The Doom is heavily in the favour at the moment, but I think that's just due to the Radiance and the fact that he got a lot of solo farm for a long time. But the next 3 heroes then is the Weaver, the Bristleback, the Storm Spirit. Then it's the Slardar. Slardar really needs to be higher up there. Like, I kind of think, what does he have at the moment? He has his BKB, he needs his Blink, he needs his Mordigans possibly, or the Mask of Madness or something like that, just to increase his damage potential.
Yeah, Blink would be a good pick next. I think they're fairly reliant on their supports and their Doom to put out the damage at the moment. So really, I mean, he's landing a load of his Slithering Crushes, so a Blink would help that even further.
Doom is going for a Refresh Resorb. I kind of like this. It's like old school Doom where he was kind of built to be a caster versus just an absolute beast of a tank. He can now, so he has his Aghanims and he has Doom. So the team fights are going to be basically, with the factors that you have the Disruptor, they're going to be very localized. So if he can silence both the Storm Spirit and the Weaver with that Refresher, if he gets that off at least once, I think this will be a good pickup. But generally Refresh's Orb just is never worth it. It's such a huge investment for not that really big of a payoff. You can say for let's say a Zeus, it's nice to have, but unless you're getting it up ridiculously early, it's pointless.
Yeah, I think it's another gimmick item that Doom's picking up. So the problem with this now is Doom is so far ahead for Inca, meaning that Inca are hugely reliant on him to do the damage, to stay alive,
We're going
to
to
be
see a Roshan attempt here as well.
to be that person. But really, I mean, 2 Dooms is nice, but you're the hard carry. I mean, you should be really hard to kill, doing a load of right-click damage, all this kind of stuff. But he is 6 armor, Doom.
They need to scout this out and realise that they're coming in here. They just need to get away. Slithering Coast does miss, and they just actually push them away. I don't know now if the Radiant actually know that this is a Roshan attempt or whether it was just a Weaver out of position, but the Dire are actually going back into the Roshan pit. If they can take this out, the fact is that they do have these aggressive wards coming out giving vision, is that they do have enough time to react to get out of there. They should be able to take this down and actually should stick that straight onto the Storm Spirit. Good play, smart in the fact is that they're playing uphill at the moment. Getting something like that, it does give them the potential to actually get in here and do something. Huge ball in. No idea where his team is, no idea where the Rubik was or who else would be around him. But now he's left with no mana, there's nothing really can do, but the Weaver does come down, he does Sakuchi, and Thunderstrike comes out as well onto the Rubik, and this is going to be 1 down. Straight buyback, a little bit strange.
I don't see the point of that buyback.
I think it was a panic buyback. I think they thought that they might be pushing it. I want to be there to defend. We see Sanji's coming out in the Venomancer, so I'm kind of assuming that this is going to be for a Heaven's Halberd, which would be a great pick on the to stop this Doom. But the only problem is he hasn't gone for a right-click Doom. He does have his Refresh's Orb now, so it'll be interesting to see how the Dire react when they see this refreshed Doom coming out on them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested enough to see if it works or not. I honestly don't like this Doom build. I think Aghanim's and Refreshers is a waste. I much prefer a tanky Doom, lots of armor, lots of staying power.
AC Radiance kind of thing, just buff up that Scorcher to make you so hard to kill and just be an absolute nightmare in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, heavy right-click damage, so AC would be a good pickup, mech, good pickup. Yeah,
they're going to go for a smoke around up here. So if they can get this Doom off on this Weaver, but he does seem to be backing out, so he should be fine.
But I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say we did say that when this Doom was picked, he was picked to counter. So I suppose we're going to see the best back being caught out here.
Is he going to be doomed? He gets TK'd. He does get doomed. Does get stunned. Don't think that they should have gone in here. We're going to see the refresh Doom is going to come out here. Venomancer does get his ult up. The only problem is it doesn't stop. Good TK, but the only problem is that that BKB was already up. Slams are coming out, does actually take out the Disruptor. Weaver is staying in here doing a lot of damage, but he does get taken down to a Doom. He's doomed again now, so the only problem is he's going to lose his life straight again. They don't actually get 1 hero out of that, 2 heroes, sorry. Doom is going to take out the Storm Spirit here. Rubik does go down to the Venomancer, but Venomancer is going to lose his life as well. This Storm Spirit, while he had a great early game, is these dives are just so risky. He was going in to possibly save 1 hero when he saw that the whole team was there. The rest of his team wasn't catching up to the Bristleback. Bristleback was out of position. He got caught out. Leave him die. That's fine to lose 1 hero, but to lose 1 hero and then to just feed heroes at the enemy team isn't worth it, especially when it's the Doom and the Slider staying alive.
Yeah, the initiation was all wrong there. They went in 1s and 2s and 3s, and you can't do that, obviously. And they were easily picked off.
Exactly, and that Dusk, I was actually just going to say is that Dusk is one of those items that either it works or it doesn't, but it's always worth to give it a try. And I thought that Dusk was a complete waste there, but the fact is that they looked out and they caught that Bristleback. They would have happy just to take the Bristleback, but the fact is that the rest team just poured on top of them when they didn't need to.
Yeah, and the Doom now TP's back, so I think he's probably going to go back to more farming.
He's to sell that Aquila.
I'm interested to see what his next item choice is going to be, considering his previous 2 were interesting.
Ayla Discord, possibly?
I have no idea.
But yeah, it's definitely something I have read about before in the past, is that people did like to play a caster kind of Doom, is that you do have the the level question mark death, it just like is a lot of nuke potential. So if you have the 2 Dooms, you have the death coming out twice, and then you have Scorched Earth that you can actually start the Scorched Earth in the fight, get your Doom off, get your death level, and then refresh, and then do it again. That's a lot of sustained damage coming out, by the way, of just one hero.
Yeah, I suppose one of the interesting things as well in that terrible fight top was that the Doom didn't get targeted at all. They were too busy kind of picking off kind of supporting heroes and stuff. But I mean, the Doom was sitting on 7 armor and 1,900 health, so he's not tanky. He'll go down fairly quick if you focus him. But he just wasn't being focused. He was just allowed to just sit there and right click.
Now we do see that the Weaver has got his Desolator, he does have his Lincoln Sphere, but the only problem is when you have this amplified damage, which has a 10-second cooldown, you can just easily break that Lincoln and then follow it up with a Doom. And now that it's a refresher Doom again, I think that the Radiant, they should just push here. They can take the team fights quite convincingly. If the Slardar does get caught by the kinetic field, you can just BKB out of it. You'd have to get a pretty big kinetic field for it actually to be worth it.
Yeah, and the Slardar has now moved well up in network. He's bypassed the Bristleback and the Storm Spirit. So he's now starting to become he's fairly powerful in these team fights as well.
We see now this is the game of smokes. It's been smoke for smoke, but the only problem is they're coming down here. They're catching them under the tower. Doom isn't here, but they kind of need to be making kills happen here. They are going to be caught out. The pipe does come out. Does manage to catch the Slardar possibly, but he turns. He just does his damage. Right click damage coming out from the Weaver with the disruptor, with the Desolator, but they're just sitting just on top of this this chain lightning. They're just taking so much damage. The Doom did come in. Does actually manage to catch out the Weaver with a Doom. Does manage to catch out now the Bristleback. Bristleback's going to lose his life here. Slardar comes back in. Slardar unfortunately dies to a Quill, and so does the Lich goes down as well. But they lost 4 heroes for 2, and they're going to lose 5. And on this is that the Radiant, they really can just push any lane they want.
Yeah, I mean, their initiation just isn't working for TMK. I think the Storm Spirit is diving far too far past everyone. He's kind of just diving into a team and then melting, which is a problem for them because I don't think anymore anyway. But before those 2 team fights, he was one of their most important heroes in a team fight, and he was just throwing his life away.
Yeah. If he had his Bloodstone possibly before, it would have been a little better. But the only problem is he's doing these huge dives and he's just draining his mana, and he gets in there and he's like, ho ho! And he can do 1 right click and maybe a static remnant, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, what happened there is the Slardar was kind of the one picked out, and he BKB'd. I mean, right clicks would have killed the Slardar. The Slardar was dying, but he decided to bypass the Slardar and leave his team, who were just attacking the one hero, and then ball into the 4 other heroes. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just crazy place.
And Weaver, even in that engagement, I think it might have been a slight misclick, but he was in position. He got his Desolator, first Desolator hit up on the Slardar, and then he actually stopped attacking. So I don't know whether he misclicked or whether he thought he should go for someone else, but I think they thought they had that Slardar and they gave up too soon, and he just came back to bite them in the ass. But he did die eventually to the last Quill spray from the actual Bristleback, but I don't even think that was intentional. I think that was actually the Bristleback passive skill that did that. Night Stalker is coming in here. He does have his Knight, but possibly could have glimpsed there to take him back.
Yeah, I think I missed opportunity there from the glimpse.
But yeah, it's kind of snowballing in favour of the Radiant at the moment, so it's kind of I still do think that the Dire have such great team fight potential. I want to see them just fighting a lot better. As the Storm Spirit needs to wait for the initiation. He is an initiator, fair enough, but when you take into account that you have a disruptor on your team who can set up that glimpse kinetic field into the static storm, with Venomancer as well, you have the Weaver who can get in and scout out ahead, rather than just diving in blindly and hoping you get the hero at the right time.
Yeah, I think if they got a good initiation, they could maybe win a team fight. I think it's getting a little bit out of hand now. The Doom is crazy ahead. But yeah, I mean, they do have great team fight.
Oh, and the Slardar's going in here, he wants blood. BKB does come out. Static Storm isn't going to come out. The Night Stalker's going to lose his life here. Oh, he does manage to get away, but Storm Spirit dies again to the Doom here. And I haven't seen too many refresh Dooms, but this Doom is doing an absolutely amazing job. He's doing the right targets every time, and he's getting those kills. Like he's going even for a sheep stick now, so he's going Grand Mage Doom, I think, in this game.
Yeah, I certainly think bot his dooms didn't really have any effect. I mean, he doomed a Weaver who was dead, and can't remember the other hero, but I think it was the
Oh,
Storm
this
Spirit.
Rivet
Yeah, it
catching
was
at that
the Storm
disruptor.
Spirit who was dead. But yeah, that doom on the Storm Spirit there mid was great. I mean, like we said, this is a hero who's been picked, especially who's been drafted to counter the draft of TMK.
Yeah. I said, yeah,
working.
oh, it is a Scythe of Eyes. I was going to counter myself and say that was possibly going to Shiva's guard, but no, Doom proved me right the first time, and they're going to go happily take this rush. I don't even think if TMK came down, I don't think they could actually defend this, or even contest it. They could possibly consider doing a steal.
It'll be interesting if they did, but I mean, this is a Deathslayer up in the starter. This Roche is going to go down pretty quick.
Yeah. This I kind of feel is the slow march to victory now for Team INCA. I kind of feel is that they don't really need to procrastinate anymore. They can just take the fight to TMK and push and kind of win.
Is the GG being called?
Victory
Yes.
goes to Radiant.
Something that's a little bit, I suppose, a little bit a break to watch is versus the other games we usually cast is when a GG is called and then there's just this tedious 5 to 10 minutes of feigned attempts at defending. At least when they call the GG, it's over. And that was just purely because they got outplayed. The initial game, it looked like that TMK, they were doing great things. They were getting the smokes up. They were wrapping around, taking up that Night Stalker. And you can even look, if you look at the Night Stalker's items, he's literally has nothing, only starting a BKB now. But the thing is, they went for a strange lineup in the fact that they had this Lich in the off lane, which would have worked, but the rest of the lanes were kind of really weakened by the fact that Doom wasn't doing anything. Switching those lanes around, putting the tri-lane bot against the tri-lane was really effective. And I kind of feel is that the tri-lane from the TMK coming out was just a little bit too weak. Not in the fact of what the composition was, but when they went up against another tri-lane, is there was nothing really they could do against it.
Yeah, I think there's a few things there to note. Is number one, the tri-lane bot won the early game extremely hard. So much, like, didn't just win their lane, but kind of won the general early game because there was so much attention down bot. Two, they rotated the Doom really, really well. This is a hero that was completely shut down in the first 5 minutes of the game, 6 minutes of the game, but rotated him top and he was able to get the farm. Three, team fights. We were saying TMK had the stronger team fighting draft, which I think they did, but they were either caught really well by the Slardar Rubik Lich, or they initiated poorly. And the Doom, I think, was a great pick. The Doom, there was a few Dooms, really key Dooms on heroes like Storm Spirit and Weaver, which kind of stopped them getting away. But yeah, I think that game was kind of really in the Radiant's favor after about 20 minutes, after I think that failed mid gank.
Definitely, yeah. I'm going to give myself personally, I don't know about yourself, but I think the man of match does need to go to the Doom on that game. He initially died a couple of times, was very slow on that Midas, but then not only was he going to a lane where he knew to get farm, his awareness, map awareness, and the fact that he was getting to the fights when he needed to be there was just fantastic, and he really held it together after those initial kind of stuttery starts. But that's been another episode of That Dota. We actually watched Team INCA going up against TMK. It was a victory coming out, by the way, of the INCA after 37 minutes. It was some really great plays coming out, by the way, of both their supports and their Doom. So the fact is their Night Stalker never really got off the ground, but really interesting game to see again. And thanks so much for watching. I've been Gus, and I've been joined by Mark again here today. Mark, thanks so much for coming.
Yep, thanks.
And we'll see you all guys next time.